Now this stage is the fun part. This is where you make money. Pushing the hot button, all you're trying to do here is try to get the customer to clarify the hot button that they've already given you so that they can see what you can see. You might see a perfectly good way that if they purchase your product, it's going to add a real benefit to their life that they will appreciate. All you need to do is get them to clarify it so that they can see what you can see. The next thing you need to do is attach it to emotional pain. We know people always do things to gain pleasure or avoid pain. Not everybody's always after pleasure because people can become comfortable or content. It's the same exact reason why there are a few high achievers. However, pain is a motivating factor. Everybody wants to avoid pain. If you're trying to sell pay TV, it is easier to sell the pain that the potential customer will feel if they miss out on their favourite show, once you know what it is, or their favourite feature of what you're providing, once you know what it is, rather than it is to sell the fact that they can see more TV. If you're selling electricity door to door, it's much easier to sell on the fear that electricity prices are rising, and if they don't do this now, they're going to be out of pocket so many dollars. It's much easier to sell that way than it is to sell the fact that they might save 20 cents on their call to their mother once every 3 months. Pain motivates more than pleasure. So that is the only two things you're trying to do when you push the hot button. And the really good technique that I use is to use the 5 golden questions. And here is the 5 golden questions that come under pushing the hot button. The first question is, why would you buy? Now you don't say to the customer, why would you buy? It's not a great sentence to add to your pitch. But you can always ask this question once you have rapport established, and it's a really good way to lead the presentation towards a close. So you might say something like, well, if you were going to buy this, why would you buy it? It's a really good question because it makes them come up with the benefit that they see that your product has for them in their life from their frame of reference. They are about to clarify the hot button that you can see that they have. And you could be wrong. They might come up with something completely different to what you thought the hot button was. But now you have 2 hot buttons. The second question you ask them is why did you pick that reason? And this time you might just say, why did you pick that reason? Or why does that appeal to you? Or you might want to try and continue with the emotional bank account and say, that's the exact reason that I picked. Why did you pick that reason? This is a really important step because it not only clarifies the hot button, but we are starting to attach it to an emotional reason. Now, once they've answered this question, you're going to ask question number 3, which is really to get them to repeat it. And the best way to put it usually is to say something like, why is that important to you? Usually at this point, your potential customer will say the same answer they said in the second question. However, we're getting them to repeat it, and maybe with different words. So it's getting to a deeper level in their head. And they are the one telling you the reason. You haven't said anything. So of course, it's not going to be wrong to them because it's not something you've told them. They're telling you. Now the fourth question is to turn it around and make sure that this emotion is painful. So we're kind of going to inverse it because they have come up with a positive reason and we are going to point out the opposite of that positive reason. We are potentially going to turn their hot button into a real hot button by inversing it so that now it creates pain if they don't take action and buy from you, as opposed to pleasure if they do take action and buy from you. It's a big shift emotionally because now we're pushing on a painful point, and that's a much more motivating factor in people than it is to gain pleasure. So question number 4 is usually something like, what if you miss out? Or what's the worst thing that'll happen if you don't buy? You know, a good way to say that is, I don't care if you buy it or not. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen in your life if you didn't buy this product today? And expect an answer there. And then once they come up with this painful reason, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to make them clarify it in their own mind and attach it to their emotion. So that might be something in the form of, why would that worry you? Or Why would that be a bad thing in your life? And now these questions work. To recap, the first question is pretty much saying, what is your hot button? The second question is, how can I attach this hot button to your emotions? The third question is just to get them to clarify and repeat the hot button so that they can see what you can see. They understand why they should purchase. The fourth question is inversing the whole problem. So instead of now pushing the pleasure hot button to try and make them take action to gain pleasure, we're inversing it so that if they don't take action, they feel pain. Now they have to take action. And the fifth question, which gets them to clarify and repeat and really analyze their negative primary motivating factor that will get them to purchase your product. So these are the 5 golden questions, and they are golden. These things work. Be sure to use them. Practice them so that you get them into words that you feel comfortable with and will also naturally leave your mouth so it all sounds fluent. But this is what makes people take action in door-to-door sales. And the next step is just a good close. And this is usually really short and at any time during the pitch. You could trial close possibly 3 times throughout the pitch. You're going to close in a bigger and bigger way the more time goes on because you can't waste too much time with some people. Sometimes you might just have to come up with a really strong close just to end the presentation because you're wasting too much time, whether it is a sale or not. But we'll talk about that in time management. For closing a sale, there's 3 little acronym things they have, which is ABC, always be closing. When you trial close and somebody comes up with an objection, you do the AOC, which is agree, overcome, close. And the best way to say it is the whole feel, felt, found thing, which is triple F, which is to say this whenever an objection comes up when you are closing. You say this: I know how you feel, I felt the same way, and what I've found, so I know how you feel, I'm on your side. I've felt the same way. I've been in your position before. And what I found is to do this, which is always ultimately going to be some benefit of buying your product. And you could also say, yes, I had a customer yesterday and she felt the same way, and what she found was, always use stories where you can. The easiest way to close is to stay open-ended with your closing question. One thing you should remove from your vocabulary entirely is the sentence, would you like to buy this? That is a yes-no question, and if you're trying to close with a yes-no question, I'll bet you're getting no's all the time. It's a natural human reaction to say no to a yes-no close. Even if the pitch has gone very well and the presentation's good, rapport's fine, and I suddenly say, so Brian, would you like to buy this? It all of a sudden triggers that defensive mechanism that they have. So what we're going to do is never ask a closed-end question on a close. It's a bit backwards. Always ask an open-ended question on a close. And that could be anything like, so how many do you need? Do you think you should get 2, or should you get a 3rd one for little Johnny? Or would you like the red one or the blue one? Or if you're booking for an appointment, for an installation of something, you might want to say something like, what day suits you best, Tuesday or Thursday? And you could take it one further and try and make the decision for them. What would you like best, Tuesday afternoon or Thursday night? I've heard the guy on Thursday night's really quick. He does a good job. Okay, and whenever you're coming up with a close and you've said your close, make sure you stay quiet. Silence is key. If you're able to sustain a comfortable silence during a close, it will increase your conversion rate. People naturally feel obliged to fill a silence, and they often fill it with buying. And I'll finish closing by telling you my favorite close, my top close that I use more often than anything else, and it serves me very well. However, you need to have done everything perfectly to be able to do this close. You need to be able to build rapport and melt the ice. You need to have established 1 or more very strong hot buttons. You need to have turned those into emotional pleasures, and then you need to inverse them to create pain if the customer does not take action. Then you must make sure the customer clarifies the problem. You must use these 5 golden questions. Then, when it comes to closing the sale, don't even ask. Just carry on like it's the standard procedure. Everybody purchases. You're mad if you don't purchase. The emperor has no clothes. Sometimes, when I have the customer in that point where they're almost just nodding their head to everything I say, they're interested, we have rapport, everything's gone well, I will just start filling out the order form. And my questions will start being things like, so what's your email address? What's your mobile number? Should I put this postal address down? If they're not going to buy, they'll stop you. So I do get caught out sometimes, I might start filling out the order form and I'll ask for, also I'll just put this address down for the appointment. And then they'll jump up and say, whoa, 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 I don't want to do this. Then we just clarify his objection with something like, oh, sorry, I thought we were going ahead to do it. What's the reason you didn't want to go ahead? And almost look surprised that they're stopping me. And then, at the very least, they will clarify the objection they have, and I can go back to agree, overcome, close. But it's a really quick close that works so much more often than it doesn't work. You just start filling out the order form, start closing the sale without asking. And if your timing is perfect, very often the customer will not say anything and just sort of come to terms with the fact they are buying your product or service, and they will sign on the dotted line. Just do it with confidence and complete certainty.